Hey, we are live on a Monday night, and it is a good night. Happy the Steelers finally lost night. You know no one's going undefeated again. No one's going undefeated again. The NFL is every game is tight. I was just talking about that with my buddies today at work. How many NFL games come down to the last drive? Literally, the last drive. Nobody's going undefeated again. I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I don't expect to see it in my lifetime. How about I say that? I don't expect to see someone go undefeated in my lifetime. Well, welcome to our live chat. This is the 12 Streams of Christmas, stream number 3, with Brandon back tonight out of La Cueva High School in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Welcome to the chat. My name's Nate Albo. I coach high school football here in Illinois and have done so for 20 years. Yes, 20 years I have coached high school football. Freeman in the house. What's up, Coach Freeman? Ben Campos in the house. Good evening. Great to see you guys. We got our Minnesota representation, our Southern Illinois representation. If you haven't been here before, we'd love for you to check in. Let us know where you're watching from. You might be watching for the first time because you're here to support La Cueva High School, right? And you're here to support Coach Back. Whatever it is, check in. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know what you're up to. How are you staying busy? Coach Freeman, now Minnesota canceled the playoffs. I'm curious to know, are you guys still in school? Is your school still in school, but then they just canceled the playoffs? And how do you feel about that? Do you kind of wish that it would have stuck in the spring now that you got canceled? How many games did you get in? Campos, Illinois guy like me, he and I are both hoping to get to play in February. Larry Alba in the house. That's my dad. Welcome from Georgia. Great to have you. We're on the 12 Streams of Christmas. Tonight, we go live from 8 to 8:30. Nice short little live. Hang out with you guys. Hang out with Coach Back. I want you guys to meet him. And then following the half hour live, I always put up a video, a clinic from our clinic. Well, we call it our clinic, clinic.chiefpigskin.com. That always stays up for about 24 hours. If you see this video after 24 hours from when it aired, then that video, the clinic video that'll show after this, it's over on the online clinic. That's clinic.chiefpigskin.com. We've got the clinic you'll see tonight, plus almost 200 more. You can get a one-year pass for $100, $99, and that's only available till Christmas. Welcome, Derek Swager. Did I say it right? In the house from Deerfield, Wisconsin. Derek, I think I've had you on, right? Deerfield, Wisconsin. Yes. Coach, I've had you on. We talked ball. Welcome. It always takes a second for things to click because I'm reading through so many names. Welcome. Good to have you here. Anthony Ansoteague. Did I say your name right? Coach Ansoteague from West Mesa High School in Albuquerque. Welcome. Great to have you. Quiroga, Coach Q in the house. Welcome, Coach Q. Out of Chicago, Lucas Freeman talking about what they did get in. They got 7 games in. I think playing this fall was the best option. I think I would have probably rather still done that too. Guys, welcome. We've got Brandon back in the house. We're going to bring him in any second. So why do we do this? Well, because coaching is hard, and I think that all of us coaches need a little community. We need a little coaching community. This is your community. Small little community. Hang out, talk ball, answer questions that I ask Coach Back. Answer them in the chat. Reach out to each other. I've had guys that have reached out to each other after the show in the chat. A great way to continue to grow your own network. This is sponsored by Guardian Caps. Thank you to Guardian Caps for sponsoring this. Dabo, Jimbo, Franklin, Riley, and Herman. What do these coaches have in common? They all use Guardian Caps during practice. These caps reduce up to 33% of the impact to address the repetitive subconcussive blows that add up during the week while keeping your helmets looking like new. Check them out at guardiansports.com or on Twitter at Guardian_Caps. Guys, let's meet Coach Back. Without further ado, we're going to continue kind of bounce back and forth between our chat in here and with Coach Back out of Albuquerque. Coach Back, let us know when you got us on the audio.
Got you. You got me?
I got you, man, and we're excited to do so. Welcome to the live show. We are happy to have you. Do you live there in Albuquerque?
I do. Yes, sir.
Man, when I went out to Albuquerque, tell everybody in chat, it's about 3-4 weeks ago. And I got to see Cleveland High School, but because of COVID, and my guess is Albuquerque rules being a little stricter than Rio Rancho rules, we weren't able to be inside La Cueva High School. So I didn't get to see it, which I was bummed about. I did look up a little video and some pictures so that I could see La Cueva. From what I could tell, do you guys play at a public school stadium, a shared stadium?
Yeah, we have 3 shared stadiums for the districts. There's 13 high schools in our district. And
so I figured that. 3
of them, our quote unquote home stadium is actually 20 minutes away from us.
Coach, I've kind of been there. It's funny. I was at a city school. We shared a stadium, but here's the problem. The shared stadium was at the other school. There was only 2 schools. It was at the other school.
That's what our shared stadium, it's the parking lot is the parking lot for one of our bigger rivals.
Yeah.
Like when they play a home game, they walk to the stadium. We have to drive 20 minutes.
Right. Coach, I feel your pain. We are always bitter about that. We were always complaining about that. Well, welcome, Coach, back. I'm excited for the guys to get to know you. If you're not familiar with it, we try to balance the conversation between you, get to know you a little bit, and kind of just get to know you through regular conversation. We don't usually take time to ask your life story. But Coach is on tonight. We're going to talk specifics. I really want to ask about morning practice and the specifics of that. But we'll also talk about some of the things you talked about in your video, which we'll show for everybody after this. Tomorrow night, we're talking with your offensive staff. Of course, we don't know if you'll be back for that. We would love to have you back. I think it's great to have that dynamic. And then Wednesday night with your defensive staff. So we're going to get a chance to know the La Cueva Bears program. In the chat, yep, Coach Swager says he was on a couple months ago. Edding's in the house out of California. Anthony Anso-Teague says hoping to play in February as well. You know him.
Yes, sir. He used to coach at La Cueva. I actually coached him when he was a player. I was a JV coach and he was a varsity player, but he's a great coach, great man, great family man, and he's one of our coaches here in town.
Love having that. I love seeing that, man. West Mesa High School in Albuquerque. You said there's 13 Albuquerque high schools.
Yeah, 13 in the city of Albuquerque, and then Rio Rancho has 2. And in what we would call our metro area, there's, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of 17, 20 schools.
Yeah.
All in the same classification, but, we really don't have to travel far if we don't want to.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. Well, it was my first trip out to Albuquerque, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Beautiful country out there. So wide open. I could see for miles. Really, really enjoyed my trip. Coach, I don't want to waste too much time because half an hour goes really quickly, especially once you start talking football. Guys in the chat, if you're just getting here, be sure to check in. Let us know where you're watching from. Feel free to shoot any questions out at Coach. Shoot questions at myself. Shoot questions to each other. We're just here to hang out for 30 minutes, and then we're going to show off Coach's online clinic video. Coach, as I jump in, I was wondering why that looked so wrong. I had last week's sheet up. Here's this week's sheet. I want to just jump into, first of all, Brandon Back, head coach there for 8 years. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And the 2017 runners-up and the 2018 state champs.
Yes, sir.
Congrats on that, man. That has to be, I can't even imagine the feeling of winning that title. Like, are you sitting there just trying to soak that in and am I enjoying this enough?
Yeah, it was it's just a special day, and it's, we had a great game plan and a great game, and it was so exciting. And you're trying not to get excited when the end of the game's getting near because you don't want to believe too much that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it literally wasn't until the last 10 seconds I was like, okay, I think we got a shot here.
We're going to win this. Yeah.
It was such a beautiful day, and it was a great thing to be a part of, and just a special moment in my life for sure.
Was there ever, was it in the headsets where they're like, guys, we're the state champs. Guys, we're going to win state.
Pretty crazy. Our offensive coordinator is a crazy man himself, and he was just screaming and hooping and hollering and just dying to get on the field from the box. I think he left everything up on the box, all the headsets and everything, and came sprinting down, and it was just an exciting moment, and it was just so special to be a part of, and it's so rare to be a part of something so special like that, and to get that chance was just great.
Gosh, you know what? I'm getting the chills just talking about it because, so I've never been to a state title game. my staff and I have been a part of a couple big wins. And I'll tell you what, in fact, one of the biggest wins I can remember was my first year there. They hadn't won a game the year before, and we actually started to pour it on one of the better teams in the conference. And we weren't even all that good that year, but I'll just never forget the celebration in my headset, because you build such close bonds with everyone. You've worked so hard for this. And the feelings of a Friday night, I always say, they can't be bought, and it just brings you this joy. It's just, you can't help but celebrate, right? You're like, is this happening? We've worked so hard.
It's such a beautiful memory, and the memory gets better every time you relive it, and it gets bigger, and the span you won by gets bigger. It's just it's a great thing, and it lasts forever. Wins last forever. Records fall, but wins last forever.
That is great, man. Well, one thing on my list, again, I do have to get down to specifics because I can kind of talk about nothing for a long time. I'm good at that. But one of the things, and I got a long list, but you had your presentation mostly about the culture of your program was incredible. But a couple things as I was just talking to you guys and your coaches that you guys practice in the mornings. Now, last week I was talking to the La Cueva guys, and the guys at La Cueva, La Cueva has all the big gorgeous facilities and everything, like they're everything in their building is built towards athletics. And I feel, honestly, I'm sorry, at Cleveland. Yeah. So at Cleveland, everything was built towards that. And honestly, that's like 0.5% or less of all the schools in the nation really have all these things built in that everything just works. And the rest of us, we got to deal with a whole lot of different things. And for some of us don't have a lot of coaches in the building and then you got to make the best of what you got in your situation. Yeah. So tell us about your situation, what led you to morning practices and how that works for you guys.
Well, what led us to morning practices is the coaches that we brought on staff and the guys that I felt were the best fit for our program, the guys that were going to make us successful, just had jobs off campus. A couple years ago, I had a couple teachers on campus with me. Right now, there's only one, myself and one other one. And we have about 5 or 6 teachers that coach with us, but they coach at different campuses, and some in the area and some not in the area. And then some of our other coaches have jobs not in education. And it was just, when you're asking a guy to get off of work at 2:30 in the afternoon, that's a very hard individual to find. And I was finding that we were just missing out on fantastic coaches that want to coach, want to be around these kids, want to give and pour into these programs, but they just couldn't, with their time constraints, they just couldn't ask their boss, hey, can I get off in the middle of the afternoon and take the rest of the afternoon off?
Right. So
we flirted with it a little bit here and there, and we started with 1 day a week, and I see the commitment that these coaches are making and the travel they have to make, and the pieces just fit easier to go to the morning. And so we're in the morning full time, and I say full time, that's Monday through Wednesday for us. Thursday's a pregame day typically. And we do that in the afternoon because we have some team bonding stuff and some team culture stuff that we do in the afternoon. And so we got to give enough time for that. But all of our practices are in the morning, and it's really, and let me tell you guys, I am literally the worst morning person in the world. Who hates the morning more than I do. And I spent 20 years in the military. I spent, I spent all these hours getting up early. I hate the morning. But, the benefits just outweighed all of my hate and disdain for it. I really thought I was going to get a big pushback from the kids when we went there. But after a couple weeks of them realizing that they're done at 3:00 in the afternoon, they're done at 3:00 in the afternoon. It was a lot easier sell, and we've had a lot of success with it. And it for a couple different reasons. Number one, it gives coaches, it's so much easier for a coach to go in a little bit late in the morning than it is to get off early in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. 2, we don't waste time in practice. We cannot waste time in practice.
Because first hour is coming up.
Yeah, I'm a guy that when it doesn't work, let's run it again. We can't do that. We just can't do that. So we have to be, as coaches, we have to be as organized as possible. We have to be on top of every drill we're doing and every transition we're doing from period to period. Because if we're behind, kids are late to class, and if kids are late to class, then I'm getting my butt chewed from my boss, and that's just not going well. So it's really made us super, super efficient in practice.
Well,
we've even been able to take out a couple periods, and our practices aren't even as long as they used to be. And I feel like we're still getting the number of reps done for a variety of reasons.
Well, I want to ask a few more specific questions about that. Before I do, I want to check in the chat, guys. Welcome again. This is the 12 Streams of Christmas, sponsored by Guardian Caps. And we're just hanging out 12 nights in a row. This is night number 3. 3, 4, and 5, nights 3, 4, 5 are all with the La Cueva staff. Coach Brandon back, head coach tonight. O staff tomorrow. D staff Wednesday. They're playing incredible football. 2017 runners-up, 2018 champs. Would love for you guys to hang out with us. Guys in the chat, you got any questions, shout them out. Would love to know in the chat, let us know, has your team ever used a morning practice? Coach, I've used them in wrestling. I've been in some unique situations in wrestling where, like, for us, it was the space wasn't available after school on a certain days. We actually started to call them our vacation days because even though you had to get there early, the second practice ended, the rest of your day, by 8 a.m., you felt like you had the day off. It really felt like that. Yeah. And that was something that we loved about it. Well, Coach Freeman was saying, how long are practices in the morning? Would love to. Let's start asking some specifics. Coach, what time does the practice whistle to start things start? And what time do you get there?
So we as coaches, we get there about 5 o'clock, 5:15, depending on what we have to get done that day. Sometimes we'll even roll in as late as 5:30. But what we do is we spend our Sunday meetings, the last part of our Sunday meeting, and we make the practice schedule for the entire week. And so it's printed, it's already been discussed. We know what drills we're running, we know what indies periods we're having and what group periods we're having and things like that. And so we hash all that out on Sunday evening. That's the other thing we kind of did. We moved meetings to Sunday night so that our coaches can spend time with their families. So we get out of there late Sunday evening, which makes Monday morning really early. And so the first whistle blows at 6 a.m. And we're in warm up at 6 a.m. on the dot on the start. 6 a.m. is the time for our city ordinances that we can actually make noise and whatnot. So 6 a.m. music and starts our horn. And that's when we start our first period of the day. And then we go, we're usually typically out of there by 7:50, to be honest with you. We really cut it kind of down. So we're less than an hour, less than 2 hours. That includes my philosophy is we have a water break, like an actual get off the field, get your butt in the locker room kind of halftime water break, just so we can kind of simulate coming out in the second half for us. And that includes that time as well. And so we run 5-minute periods with 30-second transition in between each period, and we go from there.
Wow, man. Okay, 6 a.m. to 7:50. Monday morning as well. For most people, that's going to be more of a game plan type morning. Is it for you guys as well, or is that going to be, it's going to feel a lot like Tuesday, Wednesday?
It's going to feel a lot like Tuesday, Wednesday. So for us, our JV plays Monday nights, Monday afternoons. So we have the JV guys for a walkthrough. So that's kind of our install day where we're really trying to put stuff in and we want to get our formations down. We want to get our sets down and things like that. Tuesday, Wednesday is more of our banging days where we're getting after it a little bit more. But Monday is the day where we're kind of install everything. And we have periods at the front end that allow that to happen. The other thing I think allows us some flexibility in the morning is we play one side of the ball. And so our guys have much more time to sit there and put their periods together and put their game plan together and have the install with the JV kids there to walk through with.
Do you get any pushback from administrators or parents with the morning practices?
Every once in a while, we'll run into a complaint from a parent. But when, I try to tell parents early and often, if you got an issue, we're going to solve it together. We're going to do it face to face. We're going to do it by communicating and I expect them to come and ask me questions if they have something. Usually what it is the kid is telling them, this is what usually happens, honestly. Johnny doesn't get home till 5 o'clock, even on a morning day practice, and he's got to be back. Why is he missing practice that morning? Well, he comes to find out he's hanging out with his girlfriend after school, telling him he's got another practice to go to. Mm-hmm. The other unique thing for us that we did kind of have to work around a little bit is, like I said, our JV team plays Mondays. So we don't bring any kid who plays in JV, we don't bring them in on Tuesday morning. So Tuesday morning is a thin day for us as far as the number of kids we have. And so we really got to lean on each other offensively and defensively to get stuff done. Mm-hmm. And so that made us a little bit more thoughtful in what we're trying to do each day, because we don't bring those kids who played the day before, we don't bring them in the next morning, unless they're a kid who absolutely has to be, which is like one kid maybe every once in a while.
Yeah.
JV kids don't come to practice the next day.
Okay, that makes sense. I was wondering, so how do you handle whenever This is actually lower on my list, but let's talk a specific of that. Let's say a kid misses. So for us, when you think about things like rides, and especially when you're coaching in a city and you might have a large population of students that aren't very well served, or don't have finances, or struggle to find rides, or mom's got a lot of other little ones at home and it can't get away for a ride. So how are you handling how do you handle the discipline of, Coach, I couldn't get a ride, I missed it? They missed. What does that mean for you guys in your program, realistically?
If you miss a day, then you miss playing time. And I've gone back and forth. In fact, it's been a hard line to stick for me. In fact, we had a kid who was enlisting in the military, and his enlistment took a lot longer than it should have, and he had to miss practice that day. And I am a military veteran myself, but our team rule is the same. There is no excuse for missing practice. And so he missed, and he had to miss a quarter of the game that week. And there are legitimate reasons. There's a ton of legitimate reasons for kids to miss practice. For me, it's too slippery of a slope to start playing that. What is a legitimate reason and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
The flip side of that coin too is we have a lot of kids here in our program. We worked hard to recruit the kids in our own hallways. And so our numbers are a little bit higher than some of the other programs. And I've been in some of those programs where the numbers are lower. And you can what if anything to death. But what I've found is if you have a system and you have a goal and you have a standard and you stick to it early, later on it really isn't an issue. But you got to stick to your guns. And that may mean keeping out your stud for a quarter of your first game, your biggest game sometimes. But you do it early and you do it often and you stick with it. We haven't really had problems with that. And we'll help kids try to find rides from somebody close to them who's living around them that can help give them a ride. And that's kind of the team unity you try to build, where you got to lean on each other to get stuff done sometimes. And we've had to do that in the past in some situations, and it's worked out well for us.
Well, I want to ask the guys in the chat, in your program, what is the consequence? What happens when an athlete misses practice? Would love to know, what is it in your program? Is that a nice simple answer? Would love to hear you guys share. Very curious to know what programs around the nation do. For us, we're very similar to you. It was one practice, one quarter. That was what we did. And the way I always put it was, well, your backup, he plays for us too. Like, he was there every day. Like, he gets a shot. I don't know what else to say. Now, if your backup missed too, okay, you might have a shot now. Like, cause now we got to play somebody. It looks like a lot of guys are on board with you. Miss a quarter. Would love. Hey, don't stop there, guys in the chat. Let us know. The next question I want to ask you guys in the chat is, how many of you have a head coach, or have been the head coach, or are the head coach, and you don't call either side of the ball? Because that brings me into my next question. Coach, you were a wing T guy. You turned over your offense to Coach Marcelli, who's spread out, slinging it, throwing slants, first of all, better than I've seen anybody throw slants. Slants are hard to complete.
On fourth down, too. Yeah. Killing me.
Outside zone. Like, how did you get yourself? My dad was asking me, he's like, could you ever do that? I was like, I don't know, man. It was so good for me to see somebody that did it. Like, not only did you turn it over, but you turned it over and allowed someone to go a direction different than what you would have done yourself, maybe. So talk to us about that. Like, how do you do it, man? I think that's hard.
Well, when I say I'm a wing T guy, that's what I grew up coaching most of the football in, and I love the wing T offense. I was never an offensive coordinator or really I love the offense. I didn't ever feel I was good at calling offense. I love defense more, and I felt like I was better there. So any of my coordinating positions have always been on the defensive side of the ball, and that's where I was a coordinator at. So we were a wing T team when I got here, meaning as an assistant coach, and a very successful program, multiple state championships running the wing T. And that when I got the head job, I loved the offense so much. It is ingrained in what we do. I felt like we were going to continue to do that. And we didn't have the answers. I think that's what we talked about with our offensive staff all the time. You got to have the answers. And we didn't have the answers when guys were stacking the box. We couldn't answer those questions when guys were running certain things against us. And so, as luck has had it, Coach Marcelli became available at the right time. We were looking to make a change, and it kind of worked out well for us to bring him over. And And the other thing that I learned is that I wasn't an offensive guy and I wasn't the offense coordinator, but I definitely got in the way of my old offense coordinator. That's my fault. That's 100% my fault, not his fault. That's something that I was too interfering with, and I realized that. And so when you bring in a guy and you hire a guy and you give him a job to do, then you got to trust him to do his job. And I've tried to do a better job of staying out of the way and getting out of there and whatnot. And it always works out on the headset when I tell our coordinator, when he calls a play, I'm like, are you kidding me? We're going to get killed. And then he scores a touchdown and I can hear him screaming on the defensive headset about how it went well and everything. But when you hire a guy to do a job, you got to let him do his job. And we're blessed to have some of the best offensive minds I've ever seen. Even though we're throwing the ball on fourth down, which makes my butthole pucker, but it's a scary situation.
Hey, Coach Marcelli is a riot. Actually, so you were speaking, and I was talking with Coach Marcelli, and like loud as can be. And then he got in front of the mic, and then he was like super quiet and calm.
Yeah, it's all docile.
And then
quiet,
he got away from the mic, and he went back to be. I'm excited to have Coach on tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, you guys will get to meet Coach Marcelli. I want to check in the chat. Coach Freeman says when they miss a practice, you have to spin the wheel. What is it? Spin the wheel to make up the missed practice. So they have an actual wheel that they have to spin. Coach Freeman, type us in the chat. Let us know some of the actual things on the wheel. I want to know, like, what's the least you could get away with on the wheel, and what's the most? What's the biggest section? And is there like a get off free section that's like this?
Probably a little sliver, yeah.
That's how big my get off free would be, just so that I could say it's there. But it would be the littlest possible sliver, man, because I cannot stand it when my guys miss practice. Coach, you guys, so you said you're more of a defensive guy. Tell me what, in practice, do you have a position that you coach?
So I help out with the D-line the last few years. We have a defensive line coach who's also there, but he's also in medical sales. And so sometimes there's one day a week where he has to travel out of state, and I'll pick up the drills for that day. And I try to move around both sides to see what's going on, and just to make sure that the things that we were talked about on Sunday are getting done. But I spend most of my time watching the defensive side of the ball. Anytime we're in team, anytime we're in those type of things, I'm watching the defensive side of the ball. Now, the last few years, I've been the special teams coordinator, and so I will call those drills. I'll run those drills and whatnot. But during practice times, I really end up not intentionally, but watching more of the defensive side of the ball than I do the offensive side of the ball.
Well, we are here. We are about to wind down this conversation, Coach. I'm about to ask you, and I had about 3 or 4 questions I didn't get to, but we got to talk a brief bit about culture, because that's what your video is on. That's going to show right after this. But let me take care of a few little some of our logistics. Want to shout out our sponsor, Guardian Caps. Thank you, Guardian Caps, for sponsoring this. Dabo, Jimbo, Franklin, Riley, Herman. What do these coaches have in common? They all use Guardian Caps during practice. These caps reduce up to 33% of the impact to address the repetitive subconcussive blows that add up during the week, while keeping your helmets looking like new. Check them out at guardiansports.com or on Twitter at Guardian_Caps. Hearing from Coach Freeman, the least punishment is get off free. The most is one man sled 100 yards. Ooh, I like that. All of them, they must watch 15 minutes of film and look at it at all installs. Interesting, man. The wheel. What's the special name for the wheel? I got to know that. Well, we are winding this down. After this, you're going to see the clinic from Coach Back on his culture. Now, and all of a sudden, because I have this advertisement, Coach, playing in my ear that you can't hear. All right, so he is talking culture. Now I'm forgetting the official title of it all of a sudden. What do you remember what your title was?
Just why culture matters to us, I think, is what we titled
Yes,
it.
Why culture matters to us. In it, so many incredible nuggets of gold. Let me just start here. When you said, well, gosh, I don't know which one to, because I literally don't have time for all of them. Okay, well, how about this one, man? When you talked about Dabo that says we start over every year, like just that thought that it's not like it can be taught and it's done. I'll combine that with another one where you said every team has a culture. Are you managing it? Kind of what is your 60-second, like this is why culture matters?
For us, for me especially, I think culture, like we had talked about on the offensive side of the ball, culture answers the questions, and that's what culture does for us. Culture answers the questions that arise in your program. When kids are late, what the expectation is in the community, what the expectation is in the classroom. Culture answers all of those questions for us, what your behavior looks like. And I think our staff talks about it all the time. Football is the last bastion of teaching these kids, what it is to be a man. I'm not trying to knock on any other sport, but there ain't no other sport like football, man. I mean, no other sport takes a fat kid and the fastest kid in school and puts them on the same field at the same time. And you're trying to teach the same lessons. And I think for me, that's what culture does. It answers all of the what ifs. It answers all those questions that arise during the school year, during the season, during the off season that come up. And our culture is what we point back to when somebody says, well, this is happening. How do I get through it? And that, for me, that's what that means. Culture answers the questions. That's why it's important to us.
Gosh, so well said. What a great quote too. No other sport takes a fat kid and the fastest kid, puts them on the same field. And my son is in the same boat, man. He's like, if you had drafted a basketball team within our own school, he might go last on the basketball team.
Yeah.
But when you draft a football team, you got to have them. One of your top 2, 3, 4 picks, maybe. Like, you got to have them. And that's what's so crazy. You're right, man. Only football can do that for you. What great conversation. Coach, you also, okay, let me finish with this one. You had this CTR and WTR. Do you remember what those two things mean in your program?
Choose the right and win the day. WTD and choose the right. We actually stole those from Ken Niumatalolo. Those are actually big sayings in the LDS church, come to find out. We didn't know that. Once we stole it from him, we went to a clinic. We got a chance to hear him, and we stole it, man. You should have seen us up there. We're all hyping it up and everything. And we've got a significant Mormon population at our school and whatnot, and they're laughing at us in the audience. They're like, dude, are we at church? What's up, man? And we had no idea that that's something that they had used. And that's why Ken uses it. He's a very big, his faith is very, very big piece of his, what he does there and whatnot. And so, but we stole that straight from him, and we just felt like it fit with a lot of the things that we were trying to teach these kids. To just wake up and you got to wake up and win the day. And the only way you're going to win the day is to choose the right path. In each situation, you get an opportunity to choose the right way to do it and the wrong way to do it. And that's a big thing for us, choose the right path and win the day, no matter what you're doing.
Well, I hope that some of you guys, again, this clinic will stay up for 24 hours. If you're a member, you can see it anytime over at clinic.chiefpigskin.com. You can get a membership for 1 month for $29 or the whole year, but that year-long pass is only available until Christmas for $99. Check it out, clinic.chiefpigskin.com. I hope you guys enjoy it. We're going to get to hang out with Coach and his offensive staff tomorrow night and his defensive staff Wednesday night. Coach Gardner in the house. Welcome, Coach Gardner. He says wrestlers just can't hoop. Isn't that the truth? We really cannot hoop.
That is the truth.
But you got to have them. You got to have those dudes, though, because they can tackle. I'll tell you that.
Yes.
Coach Back, what a pleasure, man. Hey, any closing thoughts before we wrap it up for the night?
Thanks for having us on here and being part of this great nation that you've built. And it's just been it's a blessing, Len. And we're just dying. I'm a Steelers fan, so I'm crying a little bit right now because of what just happened. That sucks, but
that's tough.
It's terrible. But thanks for having us on, and we're looking forward to our offensive guys and defensive guys talking tomorrow.
Good. Well, hey, better for the Steelers to lose it now than in January or February, because like I said, it's gonna happen, man. Nobody's going through unbeaten anymore. Ben Johnson in the house. Welcome, Coach Johnson. Well, we're gonna transition over to Coach's clinic video. That'll take about 1 minute. Everything will go quiet for 1 minute, then his video will come on, usually a little less. But guys, thanks for joining us. Like, subscribe, those things help. Coach Back, see you tomorrow night.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.